on your birthday card, the first thing that catches my eye is that the Beatles deciphered DNA.
Yeah, they did. Yes. Isn't that what all the song was about?
Yeah, pretty much.
Let it be. Let it DNA.
Hey. Letter B. That was on Sesame Street.
Isn't that what all the song
is brought to you by?
Yes.
Let it be. Let it DNA.
Hey.
I hate that. Okay. Well, I think we've got people that have found us. So let's start a podcast, folks.
If you insist.
I'm going to hit record. I'm opening, and Wits End, you're closing.
Anything in between?
We're going to play it by ear.
Okay.
Here we go. Well, welcome to a wonderful Thursday evening. You found us, and this is Caching in the Northwest. This is the only podcast dedicated to geocaching in the great Pacific Northwest. We're going to talk about caches and cachers unique to this little corner of the country. So grab a deck chair and some sunscreen. It's time to go cruise caching in the Northwest.
Oh, that sounds nice. And you know, that also means it's time to bring in our ice-encrusted monkey. Some say his feet are natural snowshoes, and others say he's been known to walk on frozen water. All we know is he's called Land Monkey.
Well, he has been known to drive on beaches that he's been told not to drive on. He's been known to drive into lakes. And yeah, definitely have walked on frozen water quite a few times, as long as there's a geocache on the other side. But hey, listeners, thank you once again, and welcome to the show. Tonight, we also are pleased to welcome our guests, friends of the show and sponsors of this month's GeoCoin contest, Helen and Chris from landsharks.ca. Welcome to the show tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Pleasure to be here.
And we also want to thank our Denali level supporters. That's Limax and the Mount Vernon's Park and Rec Department. And if you want to know more about supporting the show, just go click on the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website. But tonight, we're here to talk about cruising. But before we get going, it's time to start glowing.
That's right. When I'm paying attention to what's going on in the show and not looking for photos on Facebook, we are calling this segment Glow, or the geocaching log of the week. And as always, whether you wrote it or not, we want to hear about it. Send us an email to feedback@cachingnw.com. Call into 253-693-TFTC, or use the uber cool voicemail tool on the website and show us just exactly how you glow.
Yes. And we thank everybody for contributing the glows. And this week's comes to us from Team Pugach, and it is a log from a first to find.
Congrats, Dano.
Yeah. So it reads, I woke up at 6 a.m., made coffee, and started surfing the internet. I checked on Twitter to see what's happening in the podcast world, and then watched a bunch of Nerf gun videos on YouTube. My email sent me an alert that my Pocket Query 4000 closest caches I have not found was ready to download. I downloaded the GPX file to my Garmin eTrex 20X and noticed there's a new cache. This one only 0.39 miles from our house. Without waking up with wife, kids, and dog, I ran out the door and drove over to Hinckley Park. The park was quiet. There were no other cars in the parking lot and only one dog walker. I took in the beauty of the pond and sipped my coffee before hiking down the trail towards the cache. I knew generally where it was, as I hid an ammo can travel bug hotel there a year ago, which was muggled before anyone found it. I stomped around in the poison ivy for 5 or so minutes. My ankles will thank me later because I was wearing Crocs, no socks, and gym shorts. And I went to the wrong side of the trail just in case to look for the cache. I did not find it, so I went back to the correct side and read the hint. A few seconds later, I found the cache container in plain sight, 37 feet northeast, according to my GPSR. He writes, thank you for the cache. It was great to log find number 620, which is also FTF lucky number 13. Now, keep on caching and check out our YouTube channel, Get Lost with Team Pugach.
Very cool.
Well, congratulations, Dano, on FTF number 13. I'm sure you're on to 14, 15, and 16 by now.
Yeah. I want to know why he was wearing gym shorts on his ankles.
Yeah, that was awkward. Yeah. No, I don't think that's what he meant.
Oh, okay.
But I think that's what we're going to post on Twitter later.
Yeah. Sorry, Dano. Been ruined for you. But tonight we're all about the land shark. So Helen and Chris, thank you for being so patient and waiting with us as we work through the first part of our show. Now, those of you who may not be familiar with you personally or perhaps land sharks, could you tell our listeners a little bit of background, mostly about yourselves? How long have you been geocaching? What do you enjoy most about geocaching?
We've been geocaching since 2005, and we love the way it gets us outdoors, exploring the world around us, whether it's our backyard here in Victoria, BC, up and down Vancouver Island, or wherever in the globe we happen to be. We love the way it acts as a travel guide, and it helps us to discover new and interesting places when we get to new destinations. And we often filter by favorite points to help us select caches when we travel away from home, to find the ones that the locals think are the top ones to see.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I think this might have been before the favorite points, but I can give an example of that. I was in Southern California one time with a friend, and we had a day to sort of poke around, and we checked out what looked to be the better of the caches in the region. So we ended up doing a 2-mile hike in the Malibu Mountains, and ended up at the cache set site from the old, the MASH set site from the old MASH TV series.
Cool.
And that was pretty awesome place to go and explore.
So you were
go
in
ahead.
Malibu, went up over the mountains, and ended up in Korea.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's it's amazing because you're walking through the Malibu Mountains and you'd think you were in Korea, but maybe my vision of Korea is kind of warped a bit. I don't know.
I want to know if the cache was a fake white rock that spelled the word goodbye.
No, it was just it was an ammo can, but it was on the landing pad where the helicopters would come in and bring the wounded.
Oh, that's really cool. That would have been amazing.
Radar could have found it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He would have heard it being placed. Yeah. All right. FDF radar.
Yeah. So we also, I guess, just a little bit touch more about us there. So Landshark's a caching name, but we started Landsharks.ca, our company, back in about 2006. And basically before that, we operated a graphics company, and we created some coin art for a group here in British Columbia. And then that coin art, it was actually the first British Columbia geocoin, and basically turned into the Landsharks.ca company we know now, where we have 3 employees. We work out of Victoria here. We have 3 employees besides Helen and myself, so 5 of us team. And we provide lots of coins to the coin world, and geocaching supplies to the geocaching world. So keeps us busy.
Very cool. Where are we at here? Guys, I guess it's time to maybe recap our past week in geocaching, and for me to stop playing around on the computer and actually pay attention to the podcast.
Not a problem.
Hey, Wits End, what have you been up to lately?
Working. It's September. I work our state fair in September in the evenings on top of my day job in the daytime. So I haven't done a lot of caching or podcasting and talking about not caching, but did do a little bit here and there. I was sent out of town on a job last week and moved along a couple of travel bugs that I believe you brought down to a certain podcaster's birthday party.
Oh, very nice. Awesome.
So found a few while I was out, got them moving again. I need to check and see if they're still there, if they've moved on. But yeah, we had fun anyway. In spite of all the busyness, I found time to find a couple of caches. How about you guys?
Nice.
On Sunday, we had an amazing walk just this past weekend. It was woke up to a gorgeous sunny day. And whatever it was we had to do, we totally put that aside and we went out geocaching. We grabbed the dog and headed to a place called Whiffenspit. It's actually, I think, Whiffenspit, and it's a very, very long spit that extends out into Souk Basin. It's about 40 minutes from home. And at the very tip, of course, is a earth cache. So we found a bunch of caches all the way out, met lots of people with walking dogs, and at the very end, we were watching the sea lions playing in the current at the end of the spit. It was quite a highlight. It was amazing. There was a whole ton of people there with binoculars all watching these sea lions play.
You didn't need binoculars. They were real close.
Well, no, you didn't, but they did go to the opposite coast at one point. We hung out there, sat on the bench, enjoyed that for quite a while. Then we walked back and went into town, had a sushi lunch in Souk, and
that's our adventure.
That was our adventure, yeah.
Sounds like a pretty good adventure. I was wondering if you had the sushi lunch with the sea lions.
They were having their own sushi lunch.
Yeah, they were having a good feast out there, I think.
And they weren't willing to share, were they?
No.
Well, the research department says that the Whiffenspit Earth Cache is GC 4 Echo 0 Charlie Bravo. So if you wanted to go look at that one yourself, there you go. Thank you, Brian Lang, otherwise known as the Caching in the Northwest Research Department.
Awesome.
We haven't actually logged it yet because I haven't sent our answers into the Earth Cache owner. So I'm just waiting till I get my answers in and then I will log it. So if anyone's looking for our log, it will be up this weekend and probably sit down and take the time to make sure we get it all correct.
Very responsible Earth cachers. I like it.
I was going to say, as an Earth Cache owner, I do appreciate that. I do have a couple of people that have logged and waited a week or so. Anyway, I didn't get any caching in this week. It wasn't until yesterday that I even felt good enough. I just was extremely tired and fatigued. Left work early a couple of days just to come home and rest. So, it was just yesterday I came home and was like, hey, I don't feel bad. I like this. And had to go, do all the chores that I'd missed out on the previous week. So what about you, Land Monkey?
So I have to ask a question. Has everybody gotten their Cito souvenir so far? No. Okay.
No.
Well, there's still one more weekend to do that. And we got ours this past weekend. The Metro Van geocachers and BCGA partnered with the Metro Vancouver Parks group and did a planting event in Campbell Valley Park. We actually planted a pollinators meadow. I always say menu. I don't know why I always say pollinators menu. Maybe I'm still thinking about the sushi. But anyways, pollinators meadow, very cool location and a lot of fun working with a whole lot of people. Had a great time there. And then, so that was Saturday afternoon. And then Sunday afternoon, we got together with Donners and did a relatively new geocache series that actually takes you across the pedestrian walkway over the Newport Men Bridge. So that was really neat to actually walk across the bridge.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So that was our weekend. And now that we've heard everybody's geocaching or not geocaching adventures, as the case may be, I think it's maybe time to wrap up the Land Sharks contest tonight.
No.
What do you think, guys? Should we run this one through? And
I definitely think so. I do have to preface and say that this has been the most popular contest ever run in the history of caching in the Northwest.
That's good.
That's very cool.
it's very cool. And it absolutely has. And listeners have emailed us with the name of one of the ports on the 2017 Land Sharks geocaching cruise. And again, if you're curious about that, the answers can be found, and more information about that cruise can be found at travel.landsharks.ca. Now, the prizes, I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Helen and Chris, but the prizes are the limited edition Alaskan Cruise Geocoin and TB tag set. Is that correct?
Yes.
Very cool. And we would like for our guests tonight to actually announce who the winner is.
The winner is Baja Betty.
Yay!
Yay!
Yay, well, congratulations, Baja Betty. Now, these trackable prizes were created for a very specific event, I understand. So we'd like to hear more about that. But first, tell us about this interesting design. How did the idea come about? Were there any challenges in getting these created?
Krista, we'd been tossing around the idea of a coin and tag. We did that for the previous cruise. It was very popular, and it's a nice gift to give people. So Christy, our office manager, came up with the concept, and her husband, the two of them came up with it about the postcards, the glacier, and the porthole. And our graphic designer, Monique, she did what she does best. She took the idea and Christy's sketches and Steve's sketches, and she worked her magic and created a little work of art in Adobe Illustrator. And then we based the tags on the coin art, just simplified it a bit and changed the shape. And Chris was involved a little bit. He oversees the art production.
Yeah, there weren't really any challenges with this one. It's a pretty straightforward design. We've created probably well over 1,500 different coin designs over the years, so we've got a fair bit of experience doing it. And this one was pretty straightforward.
Wow, that's great. And the lucky folks who went on the cruise were each gifted with a set of these amazing trackables. So first of all, thank you.
You're welcome.
You're very welcome.
Thank you. And we love them. And I posted photos on Instagram and other social medias of the trackables, and have had a lot of feedback on them. So people just love that design. So make sure Christy knows everybody loves them.
Yeah.
It's a great idea. So perhaps you guys can tell us a little bit more about the cruise itself. How was the destination chosen? And in your opinion, how did it turn out?
Well, I think it turned out great. Well, we both think it turned out great. We love sharing our travel adventures with other people. And so in this particular case, we made new friends, we explored some new places, and we got to share the adventure with about 52, I think it was, other geocachers. So it's a lot of fun to travel with other people with common interests like geocaching and share that with others. So we really enjoyed it, and the feedback we've had is that other people really enjoyed it too. So
your 52 new best friends?
There are 52 new best friends. That's right. Yeah.
Well, for some people, they are geocachers, but maybe they're not in relationships, or their friends aren't into geocaching, but they want to go to travel these places and go geocaching. And so this is a great way for them to do that.
That's great. Or you could be in a secure relationship and still want to travel and share with other people.
For singles, though, it's a great way for people who are singles or have people in their life they like to travel with, but maybe that aren't into geocaching. This is the way for them to kind of meet their need of travel and geocaching with people that have similar interests. So we chose Alaska partly because we'd never been there, and it's in our own backyard. It's kind of close, at least it looks like it on a map. A cruise was the perfect way to explore Alaska. We'd heard so many rave reviews from friends and sometimes other geocachers that had been on Alaska cruises and about how wonderful it was. And our family, some of them have been up there. And I actually have a postcard of the Yukon and White Pass Railroad on my desk, and it's been there for years. And I've always said, I'm going to go there. One day I'm going to go there. And so this was it.
Yeah, and we got to go on the Yukon White Pass Railroad. That was pretty special.
Wow,
that was highly memorable. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Jim.
I was going to say that would certainly be a highlight for me. I've heard stories from Land Monkey of his experiences there. I love trains. I love boats. I love travel. I think the train would be definitely the highlight for me. I'm interested to hear maybe what were the most memorable moments from the whole cruise for you guys.
Well, for me, Glacier Bay, it was a sea day, and we really didn't know what to expect. And the splendor, the noise, doing all the earth caches from the hot tub, that was pretty incredible. The cruise ship spent a bit of time just kind of hanging out, about an hour at the base of one of the glaciers. You could hear it creak and groan. Mm-hmm. And then at one point we saw it calving. This big chunk fell off into the ocean. And it was just a beautiful day too. I mean, we're sitting in the hot tub watching an earth caching. It was pretty amazing. That was a highlight.
I just want to stop for a minute. Now, people talk about earth caches being a lot of work, and some of them really are. But there was a phrase there, earth caching from a hot tub. That sounds like my kind of earth caching.
It was pretty awesome.
It was pretty neat because I guess a lot of people have crappy weather there, and it was all of a sudden when we got to this glacier, the skies, like the clouds parted, and you could hear these harps, and then there were these girls from the hot tub. It was kind of fun.
Okay, these are people I can go earth caching with.
There you go. Yeah.
So yeah, my favorite part though was definitely the railroad.
Not the hot tub.
No, well, I like watching the girls in the hot tub. You guys. But yeah, the Yukon, the railway though, we took a bus ride out to Carcross in the Yukon, so we got to light up the Yukon map on our caching stats, and then got on the railway and took the railroad back to Skagway, and the scenery was absolutely stunning. The ride was pretty special, but the scenery was just amazing. And on the first day, we had a meet and greet. We always do this on the cruises. We had a meet and greet with all the cachers with us. And Indigo Dave told us some stories about when he was younger. He worked one summer on the railway, so he told us these stories about the railway, and he's a really good storyteller. So then, when we got up to Carcross and went to go on the railway, on the railroad back, he asked the engineer if he could sit in the end, or that actually he went to talk to the engineer, asked if he could look at the engine. They said yes. Would you like to come in while we turn the train around? So he did that. And he was just beside himself. The look on his face was just absolutely. It was crazy. And then he asked if he could ride to Bennett, the first stop in the engine. So he got about an hour's ride in the engine. So the look on his face, the smile almost ripped his face in half. It was pretty special to see that. So it was pretty good.
That is great. Now, Land Monkey doesn't travel anywhere without an audio recorder and a good interviewing skill. So he got to talk a little bit with Indigo Dave, and we're going to listen to some of that interview right now.
All right, guys, we are on the last day of the cruise. So thanks for continuing to listen to these audio podcasts, interviews. And for this one, I have somebody who has a really, really cool story about his experience on the cruise at one of our outings. And so I wanted to share that with you guys. So I'll get you first. If you can introduce yourself, your geocaching name, how long you've been geocaching for, maybe your favorite type of geocache, where you're from.
Well, I can do all those, but I have to remember those questions.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Indigo Dave. Indigo Dave, I'm from Ontario, just north of Toronto, about an hour north of Toronto. Out here in beautiful, I guess we're in British Columbia
We're
right
back
now.
in British Columbia now.
Yeah, I've been caching for 4 years. I have over 9,000 finds because I'm retired, which makes caching great, but it's not about the numbers, but really it is. And my favorite cache probably would be the caches that take me to really interesting places and that have a great adventure.
Awesome.
That's probably better than saying traditional or mystery.
Yep, I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, love it. And meeting the people, of course. Any
Right.
cache where I can go with a group of people, like this cruise.
Right. Well, and before we get into your story, maybe how did you find out about this cruise and end up here?
Probably, I guess it was Facebook. Joining up on Facebook has opened the world. So if any of you are out there hesitating about Facebook, it has opened up geocaching for me. I'm on several Facebook groups. I just keep finding them, and this one came up. And there's quite a group of us here from Ontario.
Yes, there is.
Thanks to RCA 7277
777
whatever. Yeah. Anyway, Roy put it out there, and a bunch of us grabbed onto it. Never looked back. It's fantastic. It's been a riot.
Awesome. And it has been really amazing meeting all these different geocachers from across Canada and some from the US as well, who all come out on this cruise. It's been so much fun. But speaking of the cruise and so much fun, Indigo Dave, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story? I mean, you've got many stories. Anybody who's ever met Indigo Dave will know there are many stories, and it's just a constant barrage of of laughter and just fun. You're just a great guy to hang out with.
Oh, you're buttering me up.
I am, because I want to get the good stories. But as we continue with this, you had a particular part of our geocache cruise excursions, adventures. That's a really long statement. But there's something in particular that was very special to you and makes a really interesting story. So could you maybe share that with us?
Oh, for sure. When I looked at the side trips of this adventure out here, one of them was to take the bus from Skagway, Alaska, up to Carcross in the Yukon. And Carcross is very near Whitehorse. And then we got on the train at Carcross and took it to Bennett, BC, which is south, and then down to Skagway, Alaska, which is on the coast in that panhandle of Alaska. So from the Yukon to BC to Skagway to Alaska in one day was pretty cool. But the connection for me goes back to 1976, where my now current wife and I came out to Whitehorse to get a job in the summer in the middle of university. You can figure out how old I am now, and that's why I'm retired. And I got a job as a brakeman on the White Pass and Yukon Route Railway. And I was a brakeman for 4 months and then went back to university with enough money for 2 years of university. So it was my own little private gold rush. And our train ran from Whitehorse to Bennett, BC. And then the American train came from from Skagway to Bennett, BC. We switched trains and came home. So I repeatedly did the rail from Whitehorse to Bennett and back to Whitehorse, Whitehorse to Bennett and back to Whitehorse. And in 4 months, I never got to go from Bennett, BC, south to Skagway.
So, Indigo Dave, when you're telling us about this, if I understand this correctly, you actually worked the same rail line that we went on this excursion. Is that correct?
That's absolutely true. And since then, and that was 40 years ago, since then, the rail line has discontinued service from Whitehorse to Carcross. So our adventure started in Carcross. So when we arrived in Carcross, I was feeling a little bit daring. I saw the engineer come up with his train. I think he had 6 passenger cars on it. And he got out to go to the washroom. And I caught him on his way back to the engine.
Oh, not in the washroom? You didn't corner him?
No, I didn't want to do that. No, okay. no, I'm not that bold yet. Fortunately, as he was coming out, I caught up with him. And I told him my story. I said, back in '76, I was a brakeman on this train. Could I, by any chance, climb into the engine and just take a look? Because I remember it so well. And I told him that my engineer at the time was a man named Fred Good. And he had, at that point, worked the rail for 35 years.
Wow.
And John, the engineer, said, I remember Fred Good. And my eyes popped and I went, wow, let's chat. He said, come on up into the engine. We got up into the engine and it was engine number 108. And I remember that engine 108. It's the long snout on the front as opposed to the engine that is flat nosed, which was made by GE, General Electric. But we had the old engine with the snout 108. I got up in there and the smells were the same. The sounds were the same. I think one of the cylinders is still knocking. It was unreal. And so I got to sit down. He said, would you like to sit here while I back the train up in the Y to turn the thing around? I said, absolutely. So I sat there and I watched and I looked out the back window. It was just like I was a brakeman again. It was unreal. 40 years, almost to the week that I did my last train trip on the White Pass and Yukon Route Railway. So we finished that and he kept going and we passed the platform. And I had spoken to this Landshark group, the 54 of us, previously about this adventure and said, I'd love to be in the front end someday. And as we pulled by the train station in Carcross, the gang was all there waiting to get in the passenger car. I'm hanging out the left side of the train, which is on the platform side. And all of the geocachers started yelling and cheering when they saw me hanging out there. It was so exciting. And I was told that I had a smile of a child going across my face. I felt like $1 million and I felt like a kid again. It was thrilling.
You looked pretty happy, I have to say. There's a whole lot of photos for anybody who's going to maybe look at the Facebook page from this adventure. A whole lot of photos of Indigo Dave floating on the air.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So I was sitting on this brakeman's chair with my arm out the window, and we crossed the bridge, the old bridge that I remember from 40 years ago in Carcross. And I turned to John, the engineer. I said, "Is there any chance that I could stay here and ride to Bennett. I said, after Bennett, I need to go in the back with the regular folk and my wife back in steerage, I called it. And he looked at me and said, sure, why not? And I just thought, holy smokes. I was fearing insurance problems, and I hope John doesn't get in trouble. Nobody tell on me or on John. And he let me ride the front end for the next hour, hour and a half, all the way along beside Lake Bennett on this narrow gauge railway. And it was just like I was back there. The memories that flooded from I don't know where in my brain that I'd forgotten. My feet were on the same spot on the wall. The paint was worn away. My arm was resting on the same armrest from 40 years ago. The scenery was coming up. The siding names were coming up. And I think I just had an hour and a half with this silly grin on my face. It was spectacular. It was beyond anything I could have imagined. It was wonderful. And we get to Bennett, and the old station's still there. And I went back into the passenger car. And I guess I was told again that I just had this ridiculous grin on my face. And I think I probably still do. Very, very lucky. I felt absolutely gifted for that experience.
That's awesome. Well, Indigo Dave, thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing your time with us. We really appreciate it. And that's just another example of some of the stuff that made this such an amazing cruising adventure, but particularly for you, and to just hear the excitement even in your voice as you share the story. And of course, to have been there and see that for you. We were all so happy for you. It was just awesome.
I felt that for sure. It was a special group. I felt the joy in everybody. I was honored to receive that from all you guys. That's the caching group, though. But that's the geocache community, isn't it?
It is. It really is.
We're here for each other.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, that was a great interview. And I have to say that Indigo Dave is an amazing storyteller. I think Helen and Chris were sharing that earlier, and it's true. You could just listen to him for hours, but we won't play hours of audio tonight. But, back to talking about the cruise and geocaching cruise adventures. So Helen and Chris, another question for you. If people are interested in going on a geocaching cruise adventure, what should they be considering in their planning?
It's more fun with other geocaches for sure. That's a great way to travel. They should book early. Peak time cruises fill up fast. And they're very popular ones, often for the right reason. So if you're thinking about doing it, you put down your deposit, secure your spot, do that early.
Also, keep your passport current. If you're booking with, like all the cruises basically are international cruises. Well, there's a few that aren't, obviously, but most of the cruises, they'll go from country to country. Even the ones on the West Coast and the East Coast, they'll hop between Canada and the US. If you're booking with a group, which is a lot of fun, if you're geocaching, for example, look for group leaders that have experience planning larger group activities. And so as it turns out, well, Helen and I have a lot of experience with organizing mega events, everything from mega events on down, and cruises, of course, but also our office manager that we mentioned, Christy. She happens to be very well traveled and also a licensed travel consultant. So so the bookings and everything that we've been doing, especially for this cruise, Christy basically looked after that and helped arrange things so that they really went smoothly.
And Christy is also a geocacher. Her and her husband's geocaching name is Geo Travelers. So
yeah,
she
they
understands.
get it. They totally get it. Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, nice.
Now, if there was ever any doubt of what people missed out, our listeners have now come to realize exactly what they missed out on, including, well, I've realized it because I love to travel, and this sounds like just a dream come true. Now, there's also no secret that, well, there's another geocaching cruise coming up, what I understand, and in the not too distant future. Can you share maybe a little more about that upcoming cruise with our listeners?
Yeah, next summer, we're leaving Boston on June the 24th, 2017, visiting Bar Harbor, Maine, Halifax and Sydney in Nova Scotia, Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, Quebec City, and Montreal. We finished in Montreal on Canada Day, and it's also Canada's 150th birthday.
Nice.
This cruise is with Holland America again, and we've got a limited number of cabins reserved for our group. Christy got right in there and reserved a block of quite a few cabins. So if anybody's interested, jump in.
Yeah, so we've actually been to many of these places before, Helen and I. So in this particular instance, it's not going to necessarily new places for us. But we're actually going to the East Coast of Canada next week. We leave within a few days. We leave on Monday. And we're going to be going to Halifax, Sydney, Charlottetown. So 3 of the stops, and scouting out some of the excursions that we're going to lead in those areas, to make sure that rather than just sort of the ship type excursions, that they're really tailored to the geocaching in the area. So things like the oldest geocache in Canada, stuff like that, we'll make sure we're doing everything we can to get to places like that.
Cool.
That is so cool. So yeah, it's not just the normal excursions you can get on any old cruise. These are custom geocaching excursions that you guys are setting up for your travelers. That's
right. It's if you don't do that, if you just bring a group to a new place, you don't necessarily get that experience where you may jump off the ship and go to a few caches. If you go on a short excursion, it kind of bypasses all the caches. So we're really trying to make sure that the geocaching is part of the experience, because that's kind of, that's what everybody has in common. It's a lot of fun to explore like that.
That's a good point, actually. And in my blog post, I've been blogging about the cruise over the past few weeks, and my post from this week, I did share that we got lucky. First of all, we were able to get almost all the folks from our cruise onto the same bus when we went up to Caracross. And in concert with that, we were lucky enough to have a bus driver who not only made good time up to Caracross, but was willing to take us to 2 earth caches past the town.
Well, I was about to bribe him heavily, but he actually volunteered before I had to part with any cash.
To find the caches.
Yeah.
There you go. It would have been worth it.
It would, yeah.
So Land Monkey, were you blogging or bragging about this?
I am bragging about this. I have blogged about it, and I bragged in the blog. So it's brawling. Blagging. That's a lot easier to say.
It's a blog blag. Wow, that didn't even come out. Tough words to say. But thank you so much, Chris and Helen, for joining us tonight.
You bet.
You bet.
You know what our listeners always want to know? They want to know where they can find you on this big, wide, worldwide web that we're on. So can you give them a little hint on where to go look?
For travel information, go to travel.landsharks.ca. Also, you can find us on Geocaching Adventures with Landsharks on Facebook, Go Landsharks on Instagram, Go Landsharks on Pinterest, Go Landsharks on YouTube, Go Landsharks on Flickr.
And of course, just landsharks.ca for our regular geocaching website.
And of course, important to always mention it's land, land, and then SHARKZ. Right?
.ca, yeah.
Yes.
Not an S, it's a Z.
It's always the Z.
And because we're all Canadian here, it's not a Z, it's a Z. You got to use the right keyboard.
That's right.
No,
we're happy to translate if necessary, though.
Okay. I switched my keyboard over to Canadian before I typed all that. So yeah, we're fine.
That's good.
Land Monkey, what about you? What about this blagging blog you have?
Yes. Well, that can be found at landmonkey.blogspot.ca or .com. Both will work. But, .ca gets you to the version that's actually written in Canadian. And for any of our contact info, if you go to the blogspot.ca/contacts, you can get all that info. But the easiest way to find us Land Monkeys is at LandMonkeyGC on Twitter, Instagram, Periscope. Follow us there. We'd love to have you follow us. And on Facebook, we're Team Land Monkey. And on YouTube, just search Land Monkey. How about you, Wits End?
Well, thanks for including me after my absence for a couple of weeks. I can be found on most social networks and geocaching.com and other places. Just look for Wits End. Simple as that.
That's
Mr.
Wits with a Z, right?
It is what's with his head, right smack in the middle. And up here somewhere over my head, there's a W7ZND. Mr. Chris of the Northwest, how about you, sir?
Well, you can look for me at Caching NW. That's with a Z as well. On Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter, anywhere on the social medias, you can look for Caching NW. Okay, there's not a lot of Zs in Caching NW.
3 M's and a silent Q. Yeah.
Yes.
And don't forget that you can always go to cachingnw.com/host to read our bios and find all these links that we just mentioned.
All right. Well, with that, we want to thank you. Thank you all, both in the world of Zeds and the world of Zs, for taking the time to listen to this episode of Caching in the Northwest. Did you know you can be part of the show? Give us a call. Call 253-693-TFTC. Leave us a comment. Ask us a question. Mail us a chunk of glacial ice or, well, maybe even a cruise ticket. It's a lot cheaper than a ticket to Australia. You can do that anytime, day or night. And, of course, you can email us at feedback@cachingnw.com. Your support, yes, you, right there, your support helps to keep quality shows coming. If you like this show, please click the Patreon link on the cachingnw.com website. And heck, if you don't like the show, click that link anyway and send us some money. This show is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license, copyright 2016 by Chris Umfenauer. And if you're watching later live or later, even whatever, on YouTube, stay tuned, won't you? There's a little thing called the after show. Yeah, that thing right there. Hang around. It could be fun. It could be not. Either way, click the Patreon link.
Stay up later than your mom and dad said you could and listen
That's
to the
right.
after show.
Yeah. Watch it with a flashlight under the covers.
Good night, folks. Oh, I lost control of the show.
That's
Did I get
how we
him?
roll, buddy.
Did I get him?
Yeah, you got
him.
Oh, I've missed you guys.
Welcome back, Jim. We missed you. Well, I missed you.
That was good. Stay up
Thanks
later
so
than
much,
Mom
Helen
and
and Chris.
Dad
That was
said.
great.
Yeah, you bet.
That was fun.
Thanks, guys.
Helen and Chris, you're certainly welcome to stay around. We do what we call the after show for just a few more minutes, talk about some of the, I want to say Q&A, the chat topics that we didn't get to during the show.
Oh, yeah.
So
And,
it's still rolling for people to watch?
on YouTube.
Correct.
Yes, this is still rolling.
Careful what you
Okay.
say.
That's right.
Careful what I say.
Yes,
Family-
and
family
IHAM wants to
show.
know if I ever really had control of the show.
No.
Mhm.
No. We like to let him think he does for a little while, but he doesn't really.
Thanks, guys. Earth caching from a hot tub. Bryling says I got to get in on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Earth
tough.
caching by
That's tough.
hot tub. Limax says it's an interesting mental picture. A selfie with GPSR should be mandatory, according to 3 Hams. And Limax says, hopefully there are no erratics.
That would have been a pretty full hot tub if there were.
Yeah.
There was some calving, though.
Not in the hot tub.
Not in the hot tub.
Thankfully, no.
Careful now.
Changes the whole visual I have.
B. Pendragon said, I've heard of much worse ideas than earth caching from a hot tub. How about a T5 cache from one? If you had to bring special gear to find a cache at the bottom of a hot tub, wouldn't that make it a T5?
Technically, yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
So, yeah, try doing a T5 cache from a hot tub.
I was trying to see in the new chat function if there's the ability to search on what's the new hashtag people are using, FTAS.
Yes.
If it got
Oh.
used, I'm not sure if anybody used it.
Oh,
What is FTAS?
for the after show.
Oh.
Uh-oh, did I break things? Oh, there they are. So as they go along, they come up with an idea and they'll just put FTAS in front of it so that we know we talk about it in the after show. We skip it during the regular show.
Right.
I did see one, and it was from IHAM. Has the bear been named yet?
No, the bear has not been named yet. We're waiting to complete this contest, and I didn't want to just distract from the GeoCoin contest, and I'm about to launch the Name the Bear contest. So that is coming up next.
There you go. So the bear without a name. So like a horse
although
without a
Mrs.
name?
Landmonkey, maybe, except he's a lot harder to ride across the desert. However,
It feels good to get out of the rain, though.
yeah, it does. Mrs. Landmonkey does have a preferred name for the bear, and if anybody happens to come up with that name, they'll probably leap ahead in the contest. But we'll see where it goes.
Have you thought how the contest is going to work? Is it the name that is randomly chosen, the name that comes up the most, or the name you like the best?
Well, I have to live with the bear, and I have to live with Mrs. Landmonkey.
I was
so
gonna
it's gonna be the
say-
name that I like the best.
So Mrs. Landmonkey is going to win no matter what.
Pretty much,
Yeah, it's gonna be the name Mrs. Landmonkey likes the best. I
So
mean,
it's
let's be
Barry
honest.
McBareface.
Yeah, no.
So the contest should be guess the name that Mrs. Landmonkey has chosen.
Hey, I like that. Yeah, that's clever. Oh,
Mr.
that's funny.
Land Monkey has already won because he has Mrs. Land Monkey.
That's right. I'm a winner.
Brian Lang wants to know, calving into the hot tub, wouldn't that make it a cold tub?
It would.
No, it was definitely a hot tub. But you know what? That Earth cache might have been a Terrain 5, now that I think about it, because you need special equipment to get there.
A cruise ship.
boat.
So you need to, yeah,
A cruise ship with a hot tub?
that's right. You have to bring your own hot tub.
Yeah, that's true. I think it was T5 because of the fact that there's no roads.
There's no easy access to it, no.
That was cool. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, that the Land Sharks have already posted a photo of earth caching from the hot tub on Facebook. Thought I
It was
saw
on
that.
my own personal, the Facebook banner.
Oh, that's
cover
where it is.
photo, it's on my own. I don't mind sharing it though. I've got 3 pictures and they're all quite shareable.
Well, I think Mrs. Land Monkey's in there too,
The
though.
Mrs.
Yes,
Landmonkey
she
is
is.
in there.
Yeah,
It's, West
yeah.
Coast Navigator, yourself.
And West Coast Nav, and the 3 of us.
that's right.
Yep. Yeah, it
That was too
good.
funny.
Nice. So IHAM already has a name for the bear. He thinks that if it's cross-eyed, it should be Gladly, the cross-eyed bear.
I'm sure Ms. Land Monkey will choose that. I'm sure.
I'm sure.
I'm just checking. He's not cross-eyed,
Oh.
but he is happy though. He's always got this little smile.
I was going to say he's not just cross.
No.
Okay.
He's hanging on the wall. He could be Wally the bear.
He could be.
You don't
could be.
know
I
what's
guess
on
we'll-
the other side of the wall.
It's the entire rest of the bear in my son's bedroom. Yeah.
That's right.
You know, it's one of those big bears from Costco.
Oh dear. That was cool though. I have to say, funny story behind the bear. I spotted the bear when we were touring our relatives from Germany who were visiting us this summer around near the area where the cruise ship terminal is, and there was a gift store that had bear and moose, or moose and squirrel, moose and bear. But anyways, and I saw it and I thought, I've actually seen these things before, and I said, that is so cool. I really would love to get that at some point in time. So sort of, mental note, and that I obviously said something out loud, and we went on with our day. And then apparently what happened is the day that we left on the cruise, my sister-in-law and my daughter had dropped us off at the cruise ship, and they went back to that store under instruction from Mrs. Landmonkey, bought the bear, and put it away until my birthday, which was shortly after we got back from the cruise. And so I was very delighted to open up that package and find
That's
the bear.
great.
Yeah, that was a neat
Took
team
lot
effort.
of planning.
It did take a
That
lot
was
of
pretty
planning.
sneaky. That's clever.
Oh, it was very sneaky. And my sister-in-law was teasing me on Sunday when we were out geocaching together. saying, you were being so grumpy when we were coming back because you had to hand off the keys to the truck to us, and you're like, where are they? They're probably playing Pokemon Go, wandering around Vancouver. I'm trying to get on a cruise ship. So yeah, it's kind of funny.
You said the P word.
I did. Well, that's the after show.
Okay.
I can talk about Pokemon went.
Pokemon, no.
Yeah, or that.
B Pendragon said that was a very good story.
Thank you,
A
B
very good
Dragon.
story.
So Bri Lang says, is that he says Wally came up several times last week. It could be a wall-eyed bear, big bear beer, maybe a big bear malt liquor.
Well,
I don't know.
there'll definitely be beer consumed near the bear, but I don't know.
Limax wants to know, can you say GCD in the after show?
Yeah, that's only for a regular show, and that actually is all at Chris of the Northwest discretion, anyways.
Yeah.
Because even though he's not called that anymore, he kind of still is the bad cop.
Yeah, well, kind of. Around you guys, I have to take some level of control. Even if
When did
it's,
you ever have any level of control?
Well, there's that. Hey, I can stop this podcast.
GCD.
There you go. Okay.
So Helen and Chris, there's a backstory on that at one point in time during the
Figured there might be.
podcast. Yeah. I'm probably not going to get the story right, but for some reason we had threatened that if anybody brought up GCD, so you know of the cache outside of Seattle, GCD.
Yeah.
I can't even remember what started it, but we threatened that if anybody brought that up one more time, we were going to stop the podcast. And to test us out, one of the listeners said GCD or typed in GCD, and Chris ended the podcast.
It was a block party. We were talking about the block party. We did GCD the next morning. It was like, no, we're not going to talk about that now.
That's right.
That's for the next podcast. We had enough to cover in this one. And they kept saying, well, what about? No, I'm not. No, don't talk about it.
That was funny.
I think we've done GCD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great hike and kind of an underwhelming cache when you get to it.
Yeah.
Oh, this? Yeah, okay.
Oh, well. At least it was a good hike.
Oh, IHAM says, don't make me pull this podcast over.
Right, exactly. Oh, that's funny.
Oh, so,
Right.
so did Limax. If you don't behave, I'm going to pull this podcast over.
That's right.
Yeah.
Are we there yet?
Kids, go to the license plate game.
All right. Well, and yeah, Bri Lang was the guilty party on the GCD show stoppage.
Yeah, that he was.
Yes. We weren't going to admit that, Bri Lang. We were going to try to protect your innocence, but too bad for you.
So, Helen and Chris, you guys are going to mail out the prize to the winner then?
Mhm.
Yep. I'll send that out
Yep.
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yep.
Awesome.
It was funny because I mentioned, Baja Betty was the winner. I was like, well, we'll have to remember to ask her to send her address. And both Land Monkey and the Land Shark said, no, we got it. So, there you go. I may have it as well, but it was just funny. No, we got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have it.
I think she owns an Earth cache that we logged in Golden.
That's
There.
highly probable.
Yeah. We were driving home from the Mega in Cold Lake, Alberta, Christy and I, on our wonderful road trip, and we pulled in there to get coffee and use the ladies' room, and it's like, lo and behold, there's an Earth cache.
Awesome.
And then we tweeted about it, and we put pictures on Facebook. We were sharing all about it. When we got home, she was like, we sent her our log. She's like, yeah, I know you were there. I saw it all over the place.
Nice.
That's cool. Yeah. No, that's she used to live up in that area, but I think they've moved down to Abbotsford area now, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, closer here. 'Cause
Yeah, I
we see
think
them out at
they were,
events all the time now.
they were in
Ah.
Kootenays, in the Kootenays somewhere,
That's right.
out near Kootenay Pirates territory, I think.
Kootenay Pirates territory. I love it how the provinces and the states are all kind of broken up into the territories of whoever's put out the most caches. And
That's right.
Isn't that the way it's supposed to go?
Well, it's when you go to events out there, and then you kind of get to meet everybody that owns all the caches and hides them out there. It's kind of cool.
It is.
Yeah, so
cool.
we went to one out there in what we call Kootenai Pirates and Grenada Contrusions. I think Baja Betty was there, and it was kind of neat. We were on a road trip, just happened to time it with an event.
Nice.
That was in the bar.
That was in a bar.
Yeah, I remember that.
That was a bar event.
Good place for an event.
Rossland or Trail, somewhere out there. Yeah.
There's a few bar or booze related stops and not official events, but definitely unofficial events on the cruise. That's for sure.
Oh,
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Was the hot tub a stop? Never mind. I don't know.
There was actually a bar within spitting distance of the hot tub. So yeah, you didn't, and they would come and serve.
They would
in
serve
the hot
you
tub
in the hot tub.
Yeah. So it was
all pretty good.
Yeah.
And then there was the Scotch tasting one evening. So that
The
was
Scotch tasting
amazing.
was a lot of fun.
Oh,
That was a lot of fun.
Kind of stumbled across that, but that was good.
Stumbled out.
Yeah, stumbled across it and stumbled out.
I think some were stumbling out more than others, if I recall some of the pictures that RCA 777 has.
That's right.
did the Scotsman also stumble out after being tasted?
That's terrible.
Doesn't get any better.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, I've been to Scotch tastings, and you'll try like maybe half a dozen scotches or something, but this particular one, it was a dozen different scotches.
Wow.
And then what they did is they weren't serving them in particularly nice tableware. They were little plastic cups, and but they had the cruise ship staff pouring all these little cups full of scotch and then handing them out. And at the end, they were supposed to pour them back in the bottles, but they couldn't remember which was from which bottle. So they had this tray of little scotch tasters. So we helped them with that. So yeah, there were some people stumbling around.
Yeah, it was. They were like the little plastic cups that you get every other Sunday in church. So
Oh, yes.
it was.
Yeah. Well, they reminded me of the ones in the hospitals. When they bring you little pills and stuff in a little plastic cup.
Yeah.
Right.
This.
Those types of things.
And they always bring you a little scotch at another one to take those
I was
pills
going to
with.
say it was way better than the grape juice at church.
Yeah.
Because that can't go wrong.
What could go wrong? Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. What's up?
I don't know. I heard an announcement.
Oh, that was I was being twittified.
That was me then.
Oh, okay. I was tagged, was I?
Perhaps.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, I think that's probably it for the after show. I think we've mostly run through everything in the chat. It's a very active chat. So thanks again, everybody who's stuck with us right to the end. You guys are awesome. And thanks, Helen and Chris, for sticking with us through the after show. Hope you enjoyed your evening.
Oh yeah, that was fun.
A lot of fun.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Well,
Take
thank
care,
you guys
guys.
so much for the prize. We really
Yes,
appreciate
thank
that.
Yeah.
you. That is very generous. Thank you. And good night, all.
Okay.